There was a new survey by Auto Trader that showed that YD ranked 8th out of all the brands when it came to brand perception, more than BMW, more than Mercedes, which have been selling electric vehicles in this country for years. So BYD scored 8th, which is incredible considering they haven't sold one vehicle in this country yet. People are anxiously awaiting, and I think they're going to be awaiting with open arms and open wallets when they finally arrive.
Welcome to The Fuel Line, where we explore all things automotive with a focus on mergers and acquisitions. Hi, my name's Fareed Ahmed. I'm the founder and the CEO of DSMA and your favorite podcast host. Each episode, we connect with influential figures that drive the automotive landscape. Let's shift into gear and get started. Hi, welcome to another episode of The Fuel Line. My name's Fareed Ahmed, and today we have Tim Dimopoulos. Am I saying it right?
You're saying it right.
Thank you. And we're going to have a great conversation. Today, Tim, who is the Managing Director and the Publisher of the Automotive News Canada and Vice President of Event Content and Strategy for the Automotive News Group. With more than 30 years in business, in media, Tim has held senior leadership roles across major organizations. But what makes this perspective especially valuable right now is where he sits today, right in the center of the automotive industry during one of the most transformational periods we've seen in our industry. Since joining Automotive News in 2021, he's been covering the forces reshaping the market in real time, from evolving EV strategies and global competition to the ripple effect of tariffs, gas prices, and geopolitics on dealers and operators across the country. He also brings those insights directly to our audience today and also to the audience of Automotive Report, and contributed to the Weekend Business Report on 680 News. Tim, welcome. You busy man. How are you?
It sounds like a lot.
It does sound like a lot, doesn't it? Well, you are busy.
There you go.
Tim, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure, Tim. Tim, let's get straight into the questions. So, question number one that came in, actually, most of these questions, Tim, have come in from our audience. So question number one is, how would you describe dealer sentiment right now in one word and why?
I would call it cautious for obvious reasons. I mean, geopolitically, there's a lot going on. Every day is a new challenge and lots of change. Dealers are also hurting from making big EV investments without a ton of payback, at least yet. And I think one of the other issues that dealers and consumers are dealing with, and by extension OEMs, is affordability. Affordability is such a big issue. It's looming large on the heads of everybody in this industry and everybody who surrounds it. And I think it's only going to get worse, given, again, what's going on geopolitically, economically. We haven't hit a financial wall yet, but I think it's coming. And when that wall gets hit, I think it's going to spell trouble for dealers, trouble for consumers, and trouble for the industry overall.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's really a very interesting time that we are in.
Yeah, but dealers are a confident group. You can't be in automotive retail without having a big dose of confidence and a big dose of optimism. But there are some market realities they need to face up to and understand that things are going to get a little tough. So being agile and being able to meet the consumer where they're at is something they need to focus on.
You're speaking to dealers every single day, Tim. So tell me, what are dealers, where is their head at on these new entrants of manufacturers coming into our market? What do they think? I mean, it's really going to change the norm quite a bit. Yep. But what are you hearing?
Well, I think they're thinking about it a lot more seriously, but it's not universal, right? When you look at the new entrants, at least the new entrants that everybody's thinking about now, it's Chinese automakers. And, Chinese automakers, their impact is still going to be unclear. Like, we know they're going to make an impact. People are talking about limited volumes to start out at 49,000 vehicles, but keep in mind, 49,000 vehicles is roughly half the volume of all EVs sold in this country. So yes, it's a small amount considering the overall sales in this country of 1.9 million, whatever the total number is. But we only saw about 110,000 electric vehicles, at least last year. And if volumes go up to 50,000, they could easily catch a lot of market share. I think the other issue with Chinese automakers is going to be not so much volume, but margin erosion. There's going to be significant pressure on existing OEMs and existing dealers who sell EVs to bring prices down to meet the realities of affordability, like we spoke about, but also to be competitive with the new entrants. Even without incentives, these vehicles are likely to be priced at a discount rate. They may even be dumped in the market at below the cost of manufacture. So it's something definitely to watch, and it's something to be watching very closely.
Let's talk about adoption of EVs and dealers' perspective on that adoption. Given the fact that the Chinese will be coming into the marketplace, and given the fact that the Chinese brands are mostly driven to be EVs, how do you see a dealer's perspective on the adoption of the EV market? Are they going to become more confident about it? Status quo? What do you think?
Yeah, again, it's hard to say, because it's hard to say what kind of a dealer network Chinese brands are going to develop when they first come in. There's been talk about some of them selling direct. There's been talk about some of them actually having very advanced discussions, as you know, with dealer groups to open dealers. BYD, for instance, has publicly it's acknowledged, or at least it's been publicly acknowledged, that we're looking at about 20 dealers to start with. So, I think dealers who operate in urban markets need to pay attention, because that's where most of the volume is going to be, at least initially, from an EV and Chinese brand standpoint. And I think customer expectations are that when Chinese vehicles finally start to arrive in this country, that there are going to be places where consumers can go and buy these. And the reason I say that is there was a new survey by Auto Trader that showed that BYD ranked 8th out of all the brands when it came to brand perception.
Really?
From among EVs. So more than BMW, more than Mercedes, which have been selling electric vehicles in this country for years. So BYD scored 8th, which is incredible considering they haven't sold one vehicle in this country yet.
That's crazy,
so it's people are anxiously awaiting, and I think they're going to be awaiting with open arms and open wallets when they finally arrive.
So are we overestimating or underestimating the uptake in EV vehicles? Do you think it's going to stay pretty consistent at whatever percentage it bottoms out at? Or do you think the adoption is going to increase? Or do we have it all wrong?
Well, there's so many factors, as you know. When incentives went away and came back, when they went away, the interest declined rapidly. Now that incentives are back, 50% of Canadians have said that they consider buying an EV. So that's up compared to the pre-incentive market. I think with, again, new entrants, when they come in, and if they can push that affordability quotient down, you'll probably see increased interest. And if we see a protracted war in the Middle East, and if we see protractively high gas prices, which everybody is estimating that we're looking at gas prices to be where they're at for the medium term going into next year. People are fickle. The whole small car market was invented because of gas prices in the 70s, and we're in a situation now where gas prices are very volatile and are very high. So, EVs could be the new small car segment for the population.
Do you find that buyers make decisions based upon a very short-term vision? And because gas prices are high now, because I saw a stat recently that they said that EV sales jumped 25% last month. Now that must be a direct correlation to what's happening in the Middle East. Do you find that consumers are thinking more short-term than long-term?
100%. I think, again, affordability is a big part of that.
Yes.
People can't afford cars. The average price of a car is, in the $60,000 mark. And
that's
the average price of a EV is $63,000. So the gap between EVs and regular cars has closed, but it's still $60,000, right?
Right.
So a lot of people are buying based on monthly payment rather than purchase price,
Sure.
which has, taken a lot of the their buying power away from the equation, because they're literally just buying a monthly payment that they can afford, rather than looking at total cost of ownership and looking at what that vehicle may cost in the longer term. So things like residuals and things like reliability matter less, because it's all about month to month now, what they can
Understood.
scrape by.
Understood.
Yeah.
So, I always say, and I'll say until my dying day, dealers are some of the best entrepreneurs in the world. And they react quite quickly to changes within the market. Have dealers today adapted, changed for what is in today's market from the consumer's perspective, do you think?
I think it's hard for dealers to react as quickly as they should, just because everything changes on such a daily basis. I mean, even in our own business, in the news business, it used to be that we would break a story in the morning and that story would have legs for the entire week, or at least the entire day. But sometimes we can break a story in the morning and then by mid-afternoon, it's either old news or the story's completely changed. So these are the times we live in, right, where the political, social, and economic situations change on an hourly basis. So being able to plan ahead for anybody, whatever business you're in, is very difficult. And with dealers, for instance, that require a lot of capital expense, a lot of financing costs when it comes to keeping the vehicles on the lot and getting them out the door, it's hard to plan.
Yes.
It's very, very hard.
Yeah. I remember back in the late 90s, when the internet first came out, everybody was predicting it's going to change the retail network. People are in 5 years are not even going to walk into a showroom. Well, we found out since then that really hasn't changed our clients' buying. Yes, more people are researching online. Some are transacting, but still it's the traditional walk into a showroom, call a dealership, and negotiate a deal. So that was a transformational moment that we all predict was going to happen, but didn't. Are we in another transformational time now with this EV communication, talk, interest, or do you see this being a fad, and in 10, 15 years from now, we'll say, do you remember the time the EVs came out and we thought it was going to change driving habits? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, getting back to the internet, like you said, a lot of people said that it would completely change buying habits, and transactions would be done completely online, and nobody would ever have to walk into a dealership. And we know that's not true. We know dealerships matter. We know that people, when it comes to a purchase like a vehicle, people want to go in and touch it, feel it, and make sure it fits their lifestyle. But what has changed is they are now going in with a lot more information than they had before. It's not just simple research, it's price transparency. So they're going in with so much more information on what that vehicle really costs, what a dealer is making on that vehicle. So the bargaining power on behalf of the consumer has changed a lot, because
the negotiation strategy, I think, has changed.
Yeah, negotiations are now a little bit more boxed in, right? So as you know, dealers now make most of their margin on the stuff that comes in after the vehicle is sold. So stuff in the in the service bay and the F&I office, that's where the real profit is. And then the vehicle, the margins are smaller than they have been traditionally. And again, I think a big part of that is the consumers are going in a lot more armed with what the vehicle actually costs, right? So
you, as the head of Automotive News Canada, what are you particularly paying attention to? Maybe you weren't even paying attention to it 6 months ago. Where is your focus now, and what are you looking to understand or see the signs of in our industry?
Well, from an operational standpoint, I think AI is the next big revolution for the industry.
Okay.
Many industries are affected by AI. I think dealers and even on the automotive OEM side, we've only scratched the surface. I've seen it in other industries and how it's transformed other industries very, very, very quickly. The technology itself has been...
It is crazy.
It's crazy. It is just unbelievable. As I was telling all of you, I was in Japan last week where I was behind the wheel of an autonomous vehicle that was making real-time decisions using AI, not using just cameras and sensors and LiDAR, but actually saying, okay, I'm in this situation where, there's a bicycle in front of me that's only 30 feet away. What do I do? So rather than the vehicle and its computing power making that decision through the sensors, there's a brain behind that mimics human decision making, that is deciding whether or not to brake, whether or not to swerve, or whether or not to hit that bicycle and take his chances. So that is nutty stuff, right? But when it comes to retail, I think, and customer experience, most dealers have only started scratching the surface when it comes to how they can harness the power of AI for better sales outcomes. And just better operations overall. So
now you're in Japan meeting with manufacturers, Tim. Was that the goal?
Yes, correct.
And how is their optimism in the automotive industry? What sort of feedback were you getting from the manufacturers that you met in Japan?
Well, this particular manufacturer has a lot of work to do to refocus its product offering and also come to the market with more electrified solutions. They've been kind of slow to the market when it comes to hybrids, for instance, and they have a new hybrid powertrain. It's Nissan, and their new hybrid powertrain is the e-Power, which is actually the first big change in hybrid technology I've seen in a long time. It uses a gas engine to simply recharge the battery rather than propel the vehicle. So it's really an electric vehicle that you don't have to plug in. So that's an interesting development from a technology standpoint. But I think for Nissan in particular, it's getting the right product out to the right markets, and also rationalizing some of the underperforming products. All manufacturers need to do that. They need to look at their entire product portfolio and box it in a bit and make sure they're offering the right product to the right people at the right time.
I was recently in Los Angeles with a dealer client of ours, and we actually went into a vehicle called a Waymo, which is a vehicle, autonomous vehicle in Los Angeles. And it was really freaky at first.
That's freaky stuff, yeah.
But based upon how it maneuvered, how it calculated things, you can really begin to see how this become more mainstream.
Well, like I said before, I've been in a few autonomous vehicles, and I've been in a Waymo as well. And at the beginning, what strikes me between 3 years ago and now is the fluidity of movement and how it really does mimic human decision making, which is freaky at the same time. But at the same time, it's also nice to see that the technology has evolved to a point where you're far more comfortable with the vehicle making decisions for you just on the basis of the way it performs. Right?
Got it.
So it's crazy stuff. So if it can succeed on the busy streets of Tokyo where we tried them out, it can probably succeed anywhere.
Absolutely. So, last question. I've been barraging you with questions, so my apologies. But let's look 12 months ahead from now. Let's say we're sitting in the same place in 12 months and we look back over the last 12 months. What do you think we'll be talking about? What do you think will be, do you remember, what would be that?
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot more predictability on the EV markets. Again, we're going to be going through midterm elections in the United States, which is really setting the tone for EV adoption, at least on this continent, and even globally, really, when you consider the volumes that they're potentially responsible for. So the midterms will really change a lot of the outlook for the manufacturers.
I agree. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's one. I think another thing we'll be focusing on is getting more affordable options into the market, and I think we're going to be forced to do that very quickly because we're going to hit a wall. Like I said earlier, we've already hit an affordability wall, but I'm really concerned about credit. Less so in this country, but when you look at what's going on in the U.S., there's a lot of consumers who are way overstretched when it comes to credit. And when the doo-doo hits the fan and those loans start to get called in and cars start to get repossessed, it really has a ripple effect on the market, and it'll likely have a ripple effect here. I also think by this time next year, we'll start to see more Chinese cars on the road.
Yeah.
And we'll see the impact that has. And I think you're probably going to see a lot more vehicles on the road that we've never seen before.
Sure.
We were talking to the people who run the Australian Automotive Dealer Association last month. And Australia is like a perfect microcosm of what's going on in Canada now, because in 2019, they really opened up their market to Chinese-made vehicles. They only represented 2 or 3% of total volumes, and now it's like 17, 18%.
Wow.
So it's crazy, and there's like 120 brands represented in Australia. I don't think we'll get there that quickly here because we've regulated the entry a little bit more, but I think that's probably the shape of things to come. So,
Tim, it's always a pleasure spending some time with you. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I think the Automotive News publication is the go-to publication for the automotive industry, so congratulations.
Appreciate your support.
Thanks everybody for again joining us today at the Fuel Line. Please remember to like, share, and tell your friends about this. And if you have any questions or any ideas as to what you would like to learn and you'd like us to bring specific knowledgeable people in that area, please let us know. Again, my name's Fareed Ahmad. This is the Fuel Line. Thanks for joining us.